The Sunday morning was quiet and peaceful at the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints in Grand Blanc Township, Michigan. People were singing, praying, and smiling. Children played in the hallways, and families sat together in rows of wooden pews. Then, without warning, chaos exploded. Boom! A loud crash tore through the calm. A big pickup truck came barreling through the front doors of the church, smashing glass and wood everywhere. People screamed and ducked for cover as dust and broken pieces rained down. Some thought it was an earthquake, but this was something much worse. The man inside that truck didn't stop. He jumped out holding a rifle. He fired shot after shot into the crowd of shocked worshipers. Men, women, and even young children were running and crying, trying to get away from the noise and smoke. Everyone's heart was pounding. Some people fell, others helped friends and strangers to get out safely, but panic spread fast. Then came the fire. Flames started growing at the back of the church. Thick smoke filled the air, burning people's eyes and making it hard to breathe. Families were now not only scared of the shooting, but also trapped by smoke and heat as the building began to burn. Sirens wailed in the distance. Police and fire crews were racing toward the chaos, but inside it felt like every second stretched forever. Some people crouched on the floor, holding on to loved ones. Others were crying out for help. The bright Sunday morning had turned into a nightmare that no one could have imagined. Then, suddenly, there was a shout. Someone heard footsteps running near the entrance. Was it a police officer? Was it still the attacker? Everyone's heads snapped toward the sound. Hearts were racing. And in that frozen moment of fear and confusion, something moved in the smoke that no one expected. What happened next would shock the entire town and even the country. The shape moving through the smoke wasn't the attacker. It was Officer Ramirez, one of the first police on the scene. He shouted for everyone to stay low and follow him. Families clutched each other tightly, coughing from the thick smoke, their hearts still hammering from the gunfire and crashing glass. Every step felt dangerous, but the officer kept calm, guiding people toward the nearest exit. Outside, the fire trucks and police cars had arrived. Bright red lights flashed across the street, reflecting off the panicked faces of neighbors who had rushed over to help. Firefighters pulled hoses from the trucks, trying to contain the growing flames. Officers shouted commands, telling people to move back, but in the chaos, it was hard to hear anything over the sirens, screams, and crackling fire. Back inside, the shooter was still active. He fired a few more shots, but the sound of sirens grew louder and more constant. Police began to coordinate a plan, surrounding the building and radioing for backup. People who had escaped were now huddled on the lawn, some covered in dust and ash, shaking from shock. Parents hugged their children, whispering promises that everything would be okay, though nobody truly felt safe yet. Amid the chaos, witnesses began sharing small details that painted a terrifying picture. Some remembered seeing the man acting strangely in the parking lot earlier that morning, pacing and muttering to himself. Others noticed that the truck had been parked unusually close to the entrance, almost as if he had planned the attack ahead of time. It was clear this wasn't random. It had been carefully planned. Then came the moment that made everyone hold their breath. A loud explosion shook the church, sending more smoke and debris into the air. The roof trembled above the pews. People outside gasped in horror, some dropping to the ground. Flames leaped higher, and it became clear that time was running out for anyone still inside. Police had to act immediately and fast. And just when it seemed the worst might be over, a single scream rang out from inside the building. It was sharp, desperate, and full of fear. Everyone froze. Was someone still trapped inside? Did the attacker have another plan? The answer to that scream would change the way this town remembered that Sunday forever. The scream echoed through the smoke and flames. Police officers and firefighters moved faster than ever, racing toward the front of the church. Families outside watched in horror, holding their children tightly, praying someone would get out alive. The air smelled of smoke, burnt wood, and fear. Inside, Officer Ramirez had crawled through debris to reach a small room near the back. There, he found a family trapped under a fallen beam. The mother was shielding her young child, who was crying but unharmed. Using every bit of strength, Ramirez lifted the beam just enough for them to escape. Moments later, other officers helped guide more people out, one by one, until the hallways were empty.
The shooter had nowhere to run. Police surrounded him outside as the fire roared behind. He raised his hands, but refused to speak. Officers moved carefully, keeping everyone safe while taking him into custody. The terror that had gripped the church for minutes that felt like hours was finally over. Emergency crews worked through the afternoon, putting out flames and helping victims with smoke inhalation and minor injuries. Thankfully, everyone had survived, though the emotional scars would remain for a long time. Neighbors, friends, and strangers came together, bringing blankets, food, and comfort to the shaken families. The small town of Grand Blanc had been shaken to its core, but the bravery of the police and firefighters had prevented a much worse tragedy. In the days after, the community learned more about the shooter. Investigators discovered he had planned the attack for weeks, fueled by anger and hatred. Authorities called it a hate crime, and the arrest led to national headlines. Schools and churches across the country reminded people to stay alert and safe. And the story of that terrifying Sunday served as a warning to never take safety for granted. Even now, residents of Grand Blanc remember the sounds of glass breaking, the smell of smoke, and the fear that gripped them. But they also remember courage, hope, and how people helped one another survive. What had started as a peaceful morning became a day that would forever be remembered as both horrifying and heroic. The town was left with one clear message: even in the darkest moments, courage and unity can save lives.